Okay, everybody, we're having so much fun here in Affiliate Bootcamp. Here we are, day 12. Hopefully you've got some image ads up. You've done some Facebook Live videos. You're getting some traction. You're tracking your costs on your ad sets, and you're getting clicks of $1 or $2. You're getting those opt-ins. People are joining your list. So how do we take this to the next level? Now it's time to start hitting some home runs to really hone in on this, right? So I'm going to teach you some advanced tactics. We need to start building audiences using the Facebook pixel. Don't worry, it's not scary. You don't even need to know what the word pixel means. And then once we do that, I can teach you what the evolution of a high converting infinite audience. Now this is the best, awesomest thing about Facebook advertising. So hang in there. Let's get started. Okay, so you're in your ads manager. You know how to get here. What you need to do is on the top left here, open this menu, hover over all the tools, and you're looking for pixels. So just click on pixels. This page will load up if you've already clicked there before and set up a pixel, even if you didn't complete it. But if you haven't yet, there'll be some kind of an initial splash page that will say name your pixel, and then you'll name the pixel and click create. That's all you have to do, and then you're here, right? Click into it, and you're at this spot. Now on the top right, you're going to see setup. So click on setup. We're going to assume you're going to manually install this code yourself onto your ClickFunnels funnel. So just click on this. Now Facebook's really helpful, and they try to walk you through all this code stuff. You don't even need it. Just come down here to step 2 and copy this entire pixel code, just like that. Come over to your ClickFunnels funnel. Click on settings. So these are the global settings for your entire funnel. Okay, so this is not page specific, but this is for your whole funnel. And in the head tracking code, you paste that code. Let's see if I can get it. Don't know why it's not seeing it. Maybe if I copy this way. Okay, there it is. So there's the code in the header. That's all I need to do. I just need to make sure the tops and bottoms are on there and I didn't miss any of it. Then I save and I update these settings, okay? Great. Now, click here on steps. And what you're looking for is the next page, the next place we're going to put some pixel code, right? So that main code you put on the global settings is now in the header of every page, so it will load on every page. Okay, but we need to find out some stuff about the pages that load, right? For example, let's say we're trying to collect emails. We're trying to collect leads. So people come to our first page, and we get them to enter their email, they click submit, and then they go to the next page. When that second page loads, you know that somebody just entered their email, right? So that's the logic here. Once that next page loads after the desired action, whether it's a purchase or a lead or complete a registration for a webinar, whatever it is, let's just assume it's a lead. That's when we want this event code to fire. So this event code here, let's copy that. So we come over here. Let's assume they can opt in on the first page, and then the next page is what we want to open in our editor. Our editor pops up here. We go to settings, go to tracking code. Okay, so here's header and here's footer, right? So that main block of code that we first did, that main pixel code, is already in the header of all the pages. You won't see it here, but the global settings is going to make sure that it loads. We want our code, this second batch of code here, this event code, to fire sometime after, to load sometime after that header code loads. So we can't put it in the header, or it might compete. We've got to put it down lower, so we put it in the footer. Paste it in here. It's a very simple code. But basically, when it loads, Facebook says, oh, look, a lead happened. And they send a notice back, to their database that lets them know that your ad efforts generated a lead. That's all you need to do. Close this down, save the page, and now your pixel is there. Okay? Go ahead if you'd like to and do step 3 here, install Pixel Helper. That's a little Chrome extension that actually drops down and shows you which pixel is firing on this page. So this Facebook happens to have a pixel on their page. So this is Facebook's own pixel. And they happen to be loading this event when I'm here. Okay. If I were to come to, to this page, there is no pixel code, so it doesn't highlight, right? It's empty, okay? Because this is an empty page. Yeah, so that's what it is. So if you would like to install Pixel Helper, go ahead and do that. Add it to Chrome. I think it's helpful so you can go and verify that the events are firing correctly on the pages you want them to fire, but then you're done. Now your pixel's installed. So Facebook collects data from this pixel event and shows it to you here. So for example, in the last 7 days on this specific pixel, it received, I guess today it received 1,800 events. A lot of them were page views and some of them were leads, right? Looks like about maybe a third of them were leads. So we look down here and over the last 7 days, we can see the trend of people, during the daytime and the nighttime, daytime, nighttime, visiting our page, right? And then correlated with that is the amount of leads that Facebook is recognizing are coming in, right? When we look down here, they kind of have the graphs broken out this way, page view, lead. If I had more events in this funnel, it would say purchase or complete registration or things like that. And it tells you how many times these are happening over a certain window. So again, can confirm it's about a third of the people who visit this funnel turn into a lead. That's great. So this data is helpful here. Fun to look at. There's some more right through here. You can click through and see more about your pixel. But what we really wanted to do with this pixel is create some audiences. So let's go up here and click on audiences and pull up our custom audiences. So let me show you here what's happening with this group, for example. And I named my audiences in a way that it's easy for me to find them because otherwise I'll go crazy. So the page just pittered out. Let's refresh the page. Our audiences page. Okay, sort by name. All right, here we go. So here we have two kinds of buyer audiences. We have a pixeled audience. So every time, so what I did is I created an audience right here. I created a custom audience from website traffic and says anybody who visits specific web pages, if the URL contains, and I type in my, whatever it is, my url.com / and then let's say it's thank you, right? So whatever your URL is right there, that means that something successful happened. In the last up to 180 days, it's as big as you can go. You name it. These were my leads generated. So these are all the people who opted in as a lead. So you can create that audience, right? For example, here, I've got all the buyers, everyone who bought this book, as the pixel fires, and this is the size of it, right? And also you can generate an audience. I like to do this one. So this one is from website traffic, and this is anyone who visits your site, whatever that domain name is, mydomain.com, in the last. This one, make it shorter so that the first one I showed you, the success, the audience you're generating off of people who did what you wanted them to do, to opt in or to buy, make that one long as you can, 180 days, because you want that audience to capture everybody who actually did that. This audience you want to be small. This audience are the people who hit your page but didn't take the other action, right? Because we're going to exclude them from our success. So this audience right here, I'm only going to have be 30 days, maybe 60 days at a max. So this is the audience of people who hit your page initially, that first page in your funnel right there, without hitting the second page. So they landed but didn't take action. This is called retargeting or remarketing off of the pixel. So you build this audience too, right?
You call this some people views, people who viewed the page, but didn't buy or didn't opt in, right? Whatever makes sense to you. Okay. And then inside of ClickFunnels, I'm going to come over here and I'm going to click on my contacts or sales tab, right? And it's going to pull up all those contacts. You can export them and you can import them in here as an audience too. Okay, so custom audience from a file that you have, and you just import the file. Pretty simple. They'll walk you right through it. That's how we generated these two audience lists. This is people who generated off of the pixel, and there's obviously overlap in here because anybody who hit the thank you page should have also hit my uploaded audience. But just because of the imperfection of data, some people buy under a certain email, but they have a Facebook email that's a different, there's a different email address or things like that. There's a difference between these two. And so I always do both. So I have both of those audiences, right? And then like I mentioned before, my views, people who hit the page but didn't buy, right? And it starts adding up the size right here as they start hitting the page but not actually buying. So this is my retargeting list. Why is all this important? I'll show you. You can create an ad and you can use these audiences. Okay? So I'm going to show you two things here as I do this. One, the fact that we can now use increased conversions on your website as a desired objective for our campaign because we have a pixel there and we can tell Facebook, hey, you now know what a lead is to me. So now when I run ads, I want you to focus on getting me those leads, right? So you would choose lead. It would be green. This funnel doesn't have leads. It only has straight to purchase. But yours would be green, right? And then Facebook would focus their efforts on getting you more opt-ins. Okay, custom audiences. So what we get to do now is we actually get to choose our buyer lists, the one that we pixeled and the one that we uploaded, and we get to exclude them. So all of our ad efforts won't re-show to the people who already are in our subscriber list. There's no reason to spend money on them anymore for this particular offer because they've already joined us, right? So that saves you from wasted ad spend. So that's why we're doing that. Also, as you're building those buyers lists, those are perfect for offering your subsequent offers. If you've got another offer, maybe you don't have one right now, but maybe 6 months down the road, you're going to come up with one. Well, these are your buyers. These are people who know you and who've opted into your funnel, who subscribe to you. They're the perfect audience. They're your warm market, right? So that's another reason to build these lists. Let me show you the third reason. And this is what I call the evolution of the high converting infinite audience. Okay. So as you're building your buyer lists or your opt-in lists, I just keep calling them buyer lists, your opt-in lists, you're generating an email list, obviously, with people's emails. You're generating these pixeled lists and a list that you can upload their emails into here. But one other thing you're doing is you're creating a base of data that Facebook can use to generate what I call an infinite audience, a lookalike audience for you. So let me tell you a little bit about that. Facebook looks at when you want a lookalike audience, Facebook will go out and say, okay, you give me some base data. You give me a batch of data and I'll go out there, says the Facebook algorithm, as computers talk, right? I'll go out there and dig through all 2 billion Facebook users and come back with the ones in your country or the country you specified who are the most similar, looking at all of our data points. Somebody once told me it was 1,200 data points and trying to match up and find those who are most similar to the people who already became your leads. So those being the most likely to do the same thing, right? Or who already bought your thing or who already, subscribed to your list, things like that. These lookalike audiences are super powerful. But with the traditional, with technology, real garbage in, garbage out, right? I learned that in second grade when I started me on computers or whatever. So you got to make sure that the data that you're giving Facebook is enough data and is good data. So that's why you're needing to start these pixels and start these uploads. Okay, once an upload's here, you can always add to it. So every week, I make it a habit of going here, editing the audience, and just adding customers to my uploaded list. So I just incrementally grows and grows, right? And it used to be a few hundred, and now it's a few thousand, right? So that's that. But what you do once, I would say a threshold of 200 or 300. Once you have 200 or 300 pixels and or uploads, you can only use one audience as a base for a lookalike, but I would generate lookalikes off of both. Once either of these has reached that 300 threshold, all you do is you click this little box, you create an audience, and you create a lookalike audience off of this one. So what's the source? Well, I guess it's that box I checked, but that didn't work. So the source is my uploaded list. So I say Facebook, hey, look at all these users that I uploaded here. These are the people I want you to focus on in whatever country I choose. If I choose the United States, for example, Facebook says, okay, we have 200 million users in the United States that are on Facebook regularly. And so if you do a lookalike audience that's 1% of that country's size, it's going to generate an estimated 2 million people audience. So they just want me to confirm that that's the case. If I were to change the country to Canada, for example, smaller user base on Facebook, and so then it generates a 220,000 user lookalike audience, right? So it's all in relation to the country that you choose. And you can do an audience that's the 1% of the country that's most like me, all the way up to the 10% of the country that's most like those leads that I've already generated. So the more specific you go, the 1%, the more likely you are to have success. So this audience right here is 2 million. 2 million is a great size to be spending. You could easily spend $2,000 a day in ad spend on a 2 million person audience and be just fine. Okay, so always start with 1%. Can 2% work? Yeah, it can. But don't start there. Start here, because this is more likely. This is where you're more specific. Oh, won't let me slide anymore. But 1% is where you're more specific and you're more likely to get the successes, okay? Okay, so some things that I've found, and this is just what I've found, right? It may be different for you. I've found that my buyers or my lead generated uploaded list generates better lookalike audiences than the pixeled list. I've generated lookalikes for both. Here's my lookalike off of the pixels. Here's my lookalike off of the uploads. This one generates sales for me at about 70% of the cost of that batch of 2 million. So you can see 2 million here, 2 million here, right? Okay. Let me show you something. Audience overlap is this tool. You saw where I got it right there in that menu. So I'm just looking at this 2 million person audience and this 2 million person audience. How similar are they? Well, 37% of them overlap, which means that 63% don't fit, right? So when I run an ad to this audience, I make sure I exclude this audience. And when I run an ad to this audience, I make sure I exclude this audience. And so now I've got two different ad sets. One that runs with the uploaded list and one that runs with the pixeled list. And like I said, the uploaded list seems to outperform every time for me. Could be different for you. I'm not saying that's a rule of thumb. I'm just saying that that's what's happened to me. And so definitely look into that and see if that helps you. You can actually do a lookalike on a variety of things. So it's kind of fun. So you can do, just randomly, just to show you audience overlap. You can do like a variety of audiences. So here we see that, then you just got to interpret what you're looking at. So of all of my uploaded opt-ins, it shares 40% with those who've just landed and viewed my page, and so that kind of matches the fact that we have near a 40% opt-in rate. So that all makes sense to me. And those people are also overlapping quite a bit with the people who viewed our Facebook Live videos. So that makes sense to me. But of a saved interest, I've got some interests I saved right here. There's only a 10% overlap. So anyway, you can kind of play around with this audience overlap tool. But let me say one thing. If your audiences are overlapping, by 30% or more, let's make that the threshold, put those audiences together in the same ad set, because you're talking about the same people. Now, this is direct from Facebook. As I talk to Facebook, they say if you have audiences that are overlapping above 30%, you put them in the same ad set. If they don't overlap by 30%, if they're unique like that, so you're running ads to Frank Kern's audience and Ryan Dice's audience, and if those don't overlap very much, treat them as separate audiences, because they're going to perform separately. They're going to perform differently. So those are some of those. So what I'm talking about when I say the evolution of the infinite audience, let's go back to lookalikes. So the evolution is this. First, you start with interest targeting, like we first taught you. So first, your only choice is to target people who are in the industry, who happen to be, who happen to have raised their hand and said, yes, Facebook, I'm that demographic, right? So that's your first step. It tends to be the most expensive, your results from there. So don't despair. That is a rite of passage that everybody who does Facebook ads has to go through. You have to bite the bullet and pay for the opt-ins from the expensive audience, which is the interest targeting. Once you've generated that list, that opt-in list of so many people who've opted in, 300, let's say, then you can generate the lookalike audience. And I've already told you why lookalike audiences are awesome. Facebook is doing the matching against data that we can't even access, and it usually works awesome if you've given them a good list to go from. The other thing that's awesome about lookalike audiences, the more you use them, the more Facebook updates them. So for example, this one I use all the time. You'll notice, and this one I don't use at all, or very rarely. You'll notice that even though I generated these 2 months ago or more, the last time Facebook updated this list was yesterday. So they keep this list fresh for me, and they keep it tied to that buyer's list. So I continue to upload things here, which continues to help Facebook refine this list of 2 million people, which is large and has a good longevity ads-wise. And so this list, I can just keep running ads and running ads and running ads. And as I continue to exclude my buyers, they're removed from my ad efforts. And so this list stays fresh, and it's really, really awesome if you can get a good lookalike audience, okay? But let's say you are crazy and you spend out of your 1% lookalike audience. Somehow you continue to spend, and you're spending $10,000 a day, and you've just burned out that audience. Or you have to limit your ad spend because it can't handle that much. Well, what you can always do is you can generate a 2% lookalike audience, right? Like I showed you on that scale. You can say, okay, Facebook, that 1%'s been awesome, but it can't handle the amount of ad spend I want to dish out. So let's generate everybody then that's from the 1% point until the 2% point, right? Because you already got the 0 to the 1. Now do the 1 to 2, and then you can do the 2 to 3. And so here's another 2 million people, the ones that are one step removed, 1% removed from that initial list. So how does this audience perform for me? Oh, it costs, let's say, 40% more to get a result off of this audience than it did the 1% lookalike. The 2% lookalike costs a bit more, right? Because they're less likely, a bit less likely to be interested in what you're saying, according to Facebook. Anyway, so that's it. If you need to watch this video again to kind of get your head around it, please watch it many times. I know it's a little bit long, but the concepts will come together as you do it, and just do it. I mean, these tricks that I'm teaching you here are going to change everything. If you can retarget, so rerun ads to the people who landed on your page and didn't take action. So that's one homework assignment. Put that pixel on your page and on your thank you page, and then create an ad that's running traffic to that list, right? So you're excluding your buyers, and you're including the people who viewed your page but didn't do anything else, the views, right? So it's going to be a really small audience at first. I mean, it could just be a few hundred even, and do a really low ad spend on it because you really don't need that many impressions. So, just do like a $5 a day or something similar, like, something tiny like that. So you're just trickling ads in front of those who almost took action. They got to your page, but they didn't quite opt in because they're really likely, if they see your ad again and again, to actually go and take action. So that's called a retargeting ad. That's your homework. Put the pixels up and run a retargeting ad. Second piece of homework. Start. I mean, if you've got some people over, that you can upload here, upload a list, and then just wait and continue and watch as your pixeled audience builds and as your uploaded audience builds until it's the size that you could create a lookalike audience and generate an ad. Okay. And I went over it briefly. I'll just touch on it one more time on the objectives. Once you have your pixel in place and you can say, hey, Facebook, my goal is to generate leads, then you can try an ad type called a increase conversions on your website. This is where Facebook looks at all the people and knows which one's most likely to take this action, and they're pretty good. They're pretty good at guessing it. And you can run an ad with the conversion goal that you want, generating leads. And then what happens is you run this type of an ad to your lookalike audience, or if you're not at that point yet, just run it to the same audience that's been working for you, the interest-based audience, and you'll notice most likely that your cost per lead will go down quite a bit. I mean, you'll probably save, quite a bit. Hopefully you can cut that cost, whatever the cost per lead is, by a third, or maybe even in half if you could do this kind of a campaign. And you can do it if you've got those pixels in place. So definitely do that. Okay. Again, I use this type of bidding, this type of objective, when trying to generate leads, typically with static image ads. When running your videos, if you're good and your videos are performing well, that I talked about back on the Facebook Live video, I still think the money's here in get video views. You could try running increased conversions with the video if you want. Split test it. I'm always one for split testing. Go with the data. Your videos are going to be different than my videos. And so if you're not liking the performance of your videos, try replacing them with this kind of an objective. Anyway, those are your advanced strategies for this video. Make it happen, and we'll talk to you soon.